I mean, I think that your skills have dramatically improved. And listening to you interview survivors, these interviews are brilliant, Marcus.
The whole idea is to let the people tell their stories without intrusive, like interruptions or
sure,
or judgment. Just kind of let it all kind of hang out and let these people tell their honest stories. And
yeah,
of course, there are times when I want to ask questions or redirect the conversation to a different topic when it seems like something's been exhausted. But and those are, they're really important to me too, because of the feedback I'm getting from people who are listening to them or telling me that they're important and that they're making people feel better about their own circumstances and that they're not alone. And
absolutely,
there are many people who care about what they went through and even now what they're still having to go through once being, back out in the world. And we touch on a lot of that.
I mean, may I just add just quickly? I mean,
sure.
One of the main themes of being someone in a program is not having a voice. And then you get out and you still don't have a voice. And no one believes you, and no one wants to talk about it, and no one understands. And,
they don't understand. They can't conceive of a world like that because that's not the way that the world outside these programs operates. Like,
right.
We touched on some of this stuff, like you can't come back out and start using coercive tactics to get people to do what you want them to do.
No.
They're just going to walk away from you. Right.
Yep. Yeah.
And so that's one of the biggest things that I want to kind of get my head around. The idea that even if there was some benefit to anything that was going on there, how could you think that putting anybody, especially a child, in that kind of closed environment would teach them how to function back in the real
society.
World? You need to bring society into these programs in a lot of ways. And I don't know if that has something to do with a solution to the problem in general, but to bring more transparency and clarity to what exactly it is that's going on here so that you can begin, or people, us, can begin to apply pressure to change those environments so that perhaps one day programs not like this, but programs of any nature will be more beneficial to the people that are like taking part in it.
Yes,
because there could be easily like programs that actually work. Like it just seems.
No, I agree. I know. I mean, like
right.
you could even take the existing structure that you have, like my place, like Heritage. You could take that structure and you could redo it completely internally so that it worked perfectly for those kids.
Right.
You wouldn't need to do a whole lot either, and it wouldn't cost you a whole lot. Well, it might cost you a little more, but I think that it would be way more beneficial to actually have, properly mentally health trained staff all the time with the kids.
Well, you know how we know that these things can work is because of the adult treatment and rehab centers. They operate quite differently. I mean, there's still the shadiness and there's corruption in any field that is just kind of part of doing business in a lot of ways, but
sure.
But they're, to a large degree, in a lot of legitimate treatment centers for people with problems, for adults with problems of many different kinds, there's actual benefit. and that doesn't involve mistreatment and coercion.
Right.
Like if any like self-respecting, down and out adult went into some like, and they exist, but in general, you go into some kind of rehab facility and you're treated with due respect and understanding that yes, you may have a problem, but doesn't mean that you're a bad person and all of that stuff. Like, let us help you figure out how to live your life back in the real world. And here's some real life scenarios that you're going to encounter. Here's what's going to happen. And we're going to go like check this avenue out and see where that leads you, and like all of those things that seems to be like sorely missing from the children's programs. I haven't heard, because thus far I haven't heard anything regarding anything like that. Like it's all just like, you're here, follow our rules, because if you don't, you're gonna die, or you're gonna be kicked out.
It's like within the first 24 hours you experience so much trauma, and there's just so much that you are to take in and understand by just sort of like touching the hot iron over and over again and being hurt. That sort of, even over the course of the first 3 weeks, it's so much you're taking in, and you're seeing so much trauma. And it's just like overwhelming. It's not like where you come into rehab and, you're understood. And it's understood that, you will probably need a bit of time before you can get back on your feet. You'll probably need a bit of time to like, at least, come off of the drugs that you're on, before you can actually like function in any way. I'm sure that's understood by your places.
Sure, even in like, like it's so funny because I want to like say, well, as bad as they might be, like psychiatric hospitals, adult rehabs, anything that involves like going away to solve a problem, and you're going to be in a facility, they don't measure up to the brutality that teens face and younger children face in their own environments. It's mind blowing to me that is somehow acceptable, or if it's not acceptable, hidden so well that people don't know the truth.
Right.
It's just like, what? How can that even be? But it is, of course. And it's widespread, and it affects everybody. Because there are thousands of kids who go through these programs and then get released back out into the world, and the people that they come in contact don't know the experiences that they've been through, and because of those experiences, they behave in a particular way that affects everybody.
It's amazing to me that this started with me sort of just mentioning straight on a farm to you once, and just sort of saying,
I had no idea. Like, I think people have a general idea, like, maybe, I don't know for sure, but
they don't understand the complexity and sort of the levels of it, and sort of the levels of how big it is and how common it is.
No, when you talk about boarding schools in general, right? People think, those are for rich people who like want to send their kid away to real school. Because they're wealthy enough to not want to bother with their child. And they might get a smack on the hand with a ruler, perhaps, or they're going to be strict, but wow, look how straight they're standing up now, and they have all this like newfound like respect for authority, or now they understand the whole like game of society in some ways, because now they have this special knowledge because they went through this strict program, And people
Right.
are like, oh, wow, you went, like, wow, that's kind of cool even. Like, but that really isn't the truth.
What this is,
Because
and that isn't
it's
what
not.
this is either.
Because there are schools like that
Sure.
where really wealthy people like to ship their kids off to go to some special school where,
Yeah.
like West Point, right? That's like the
Right.
standard
I mean,
like
that's
military academy.
well, yeah. Or like
Where-
where Marty went. You know, he went to he went to the place that Zuck went to. You know, the high school or the boarding school, the adult boarding school or the adolescent boarding school that I don't know where it would be. It would be the high school boarding school that Zuck went to. You know what I mean?
Right. So his
it's
focus
very different.
wasn't even on where he went to. Like,
no.
Because where he went to was okay.
Was fine. They weren't using coercive thought reform on him. He was still allowed to be. You know, regardless of the structure of the school, when school was over, I'm sure they could all hang out together and chill, or do homework or whatever, but I'm sure that they could do it together and have their own sort of time together. You know?
Right. So that seems to be like the missing piece of knowledge, like that we're not talking about like a strict environment. We're not talking about a rigorous environment. We're certainly not talking about an environment of learning or preparation to go on to new chapters in your life. We're talking about
we're talking about
and coercion and abuse.
We're talking about coercive thought reform, aka brainwashing camps. That's what we're talking about.
Yeah.
You know, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. What's going on in these places, if there's a level system alone where you have to earn individual human rights by participating in the program, however that is, and you have to attain these rights by working up this level system, that is coercive thought reform. That is brainwashing. That is bullshit, and that won't work.
Right. Some of the stuff that we're talking to Bill about
is
that as you level up and get into like a more senior position.
Yeah.
So then the pressure is still coming down from the top, from staff and from the administration on you to then correct the behavior of the younger kids.
Yeah.
So
or
now
it's not even younger kids. I mean, that's a good term for it.
Right. Okay.
But
okay.
It's simply someone who's gone down in the level system. So,
right.
I mean, at times I had 14-year-olds telling me what the fuck to do.
Gotcha.
When I was 17. You know, I mean, like.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So, but it's bad enough when you're new and you're being groomed and forced into a certain type of behavior. But then as you progress through these levels, then you're complicit. You become forced to comply with the brutality that you've already been through. Because if you don't, you're gonna slip down levels, and all that weight is gonna like come down on you again, and probably in even a harsher manner because you failed.
Right, but also like to
you
use
used to
a different
be here, but now you're here.
To use a different word, I like sympathize. You begin to sympathize because you have to sympathize with the abuse, and you have to then become the abuser. That's that's the Patty Hearst twist on this, and that's what really fucks with your head. And that's one of the things I really, really struggled with, Marcus, when I got out, was trying to figure out if when I saw staff restraining other kids, or when I was being restrained, was that abuse or was that therapeutic? And and like the mind fuck of like trying to unravel whether this was, you know, it took years, and then it took me going into therapy and talking to a therapist and having a therapist say, listen, I wouldn't work as a psychologist. I would never work in a place where I put my hands on my client or where I was allowed to. And so therefore it's abuse. And generally speaking, when you have an adult, you know, physically restraining a child or slamming a child or abusing a child, that's abuse. It's just abuse. There's no other way around it.
Right, but it's often condoned. Like there was a circumstance where my 17-year-old stepdaughter was at home. She lived with her dad.
Yeah.
And she was not complying with his wishes for her to do her homework. So he slapped her hard in the face, okay?
Okay.
And it left a bruise on her face.
Yeah.
So she came to my house to talk to her mom and I about, look what my dad did. And so we asked her, what do you want to do? And she said, I want to call the police.
Okay.
So we did. The police met us. This police officer met us in a grocery store parking lot, looked at her face, noted that there was a mark there, brought out his little book of laws, and read to her and us that it was totally acceptable for the parent to apply any sort of quote-unquote reasonable force to get the child to comply. And this was in Oregon. And he also said that other states are even more lenient. Like
Utah is much worse.
That you can do whatever you want, but but if she had struck him back, that would have been a crime. That would have been assault. If the daughter had hit the dad, if the daughter had hit the father, that would have been assault. But the dad hitting the child is okay. And in fact, it gets worse.
Wow.
In Oregon, a parent can assign that authority to any other adult, just verbally. Like, I can say, oh, this is my daughter. I'm going to like go over here away from you guys for whatever reason, or this is a school, or you're a babysitter, and you have permission. It's that you don't even have to verbally give the permission. It's implied that if this young person isn't complying with your wishes, you can force her physically to comply, and that's totally within the rule of law, and there's no remedy. It's totally acceptable. So, and people are like, what?
I need to pass a documentary on to you that you should watch. It's called Who's Watching the Kids. It's an hour long. It's a PBS one. But it kind of explains how the laws are so in place for these programs to be able to do what they do. And how really there is no recourse, and really it's all pretty much legal. You know?
Sure. Right. And that example I gave doesn't help, because you don't even have to be in a quote unquote program to be able to physically abuse and harm and force, a child to do what you want them to do. Like, it's a continuation of these laws that most people really don't even know about. Like, I think the assumption is that probably that's not okay. Or I've heard even like, you can't leave a mark on me or you're going to get in trouble. That's not true.
Right. No. It's just simply not true.
Police will come and bring out their little book and like show you the citation about how, of course it's okay. And he was like, this cop was amused by it all too, which is very strange. Like, he's like, oh, little girl, you have no idea. You should just listen to your dad.
Oh.
Like, whoa. And that certainly didn't help. It didn't help anything. Like, she was more upset, more depressed, more at a loss as to her own rights as a human being.
Of course.
Yeah.
It's fucking horrible. It's horrible.
It is horrible. But all we can do is keep talking about it and getting people more aware of these situations, and because one, like I was talking to when I was talking to JC about her talking to the facility that she came from. I think it was called Menninger, with psychologists and stuff. That she was responding back to them about what she had experienced at Solstice, and they were they kind of just lent an ear and were sympathetic in a sense, but it's just one quiet voice in the wilderness.
But the other thing is, Marcus, I was having this discussion, someone posted the other day in a thread about UCLA, and I realized that, of course, UCLA was sending kids away to these places, and I was sent away from UCLA, and that's, UCLA is a huge hub for these places. They are totally in business with them. Make no mistake. That's the thing. I would say that Menninger is probably in business with wherever she's
wonder. It makes me wonder, though, if the individuals, and I can't see how it could be otherwise, that it seems that they would have to know. But from what they were explaining to her is that, oh no, we didn't realize that it was that kind of place.
Yeah.
But how could you not know? But
no, they know.
Maybe you. I don't know. There's a really interesting.
See, I think there's also a Milgram thing that goes on unless you're actually in a room where kids being, restrained by a tech staff, which is how it's going to happen. And no one else is there, man. I often think about this. My therapist was never there when kids were being restrained. And he would, we'd be in session and he'd get beeps on his beeper.
Yeah.
Saying, a response team's been called. And he'd just look at it and brush it off and say, oh, no, it's the response team, it's nothing. As if it's nothing. So I kind of feel like they don't know.
Right. Even the thing about when visitors would come, and JC was talking about, bringing out, platters of food and things like that. Yeah. Shiny and happy, so that when visitors would come, they'd be like, "Oh, wow, this place looks pretty great."
Yep.
And that would immediately go away as soon as the guests had gone.
Yeah. And it was the same at my place.
Right.
Same shit, man. We had these beautiful parents.
That's the thing. That's the kind of thing that's why these stories are important, because we're learning stuff, and people in general are learning things that they don't get to see. And
that's the fuckery, and that's the coercion. It's when the parents go away, when the eyes are gone, and you're left with the tech staff at the end of the night who have to put the kids into bed, and they've got 14 kids each, to deal with. They don't give a fuck. They're not going to give a fuck. They just want to go home.
Right, because they hate their jobs. They're horrible what they're doing there. They know that. Obviously
they're not being paid anything. They're being paid nothing, Marcus. If they were being paid something, right, exactly.
Yeah. Wow.
Anyway.
No, this is important. I know that we kind of wanted to talk about this kind of stuff. And perhaps rather than at this point sharing your personal story, which it's a good idea to reflect on the things that we've already are learning with these other interviews.
Yeah.
Because I definitely want to clip this out and call it another episode in this series.
Yeah, definitely. I definitely want to talk. I love that quote that Bill said about how the team becomes the product, and how
sort of
it's like Facebook, you know, because it's very like that. That's exactly how it is.
Product. Right.
Yeah, yeah. So therefore, it's not sort of like the same as rehab, where it's like the treatment is what's being sold. It's actually the child that are being sold. You know,
Yes. And that's why I'm really interested in hearing more from this former transportation guy.
Oh, me too.
Because he was, he was the broker. He was right in the middle of it. Probably making a hell of a lot of money doing this.
Yeah.
Like
or maybe not making a lot, maybe not making a lot. I'd be interested to know.
Sure.
I think these guys are cheap fucking bastards, and they get the lowest price they can. And they'll get the lowest common denominator. They'll get whoever they can to transport their product. I don't think you're going to fuck.
What did I see on them called adolescent escorts?
Yeah.
That's horrible.
I know, it's fucking
because the
god-awful,
connotations are quite different.
Yeah.
You're thinking, wait a minute. Like, why would you call yourself that? For one, like, hey, what do you do? Well, I'm a grown man, and what I do is I'm an adolescent escort. You're like, well, first of all, you're not an adolescent, and are you really an escort?
Yeah. Right?
Yeah. Interesting.
There was this brilliant film that was I didn't see it, but I saw the trailer for it, and it was made by a Swedish girl, and it's based on the TTI adolescent escort industry. It's shot from the teen's perspective.
Oh, wow.
So it's pretty amazing. Well, the trailer looked amazing anyway. I haven't seen it. I can't remember what it's called. It's called something like just the right amount of pain or just the right amount of something.
It would be interesting to see a major motion picture that investigates this, which, from that point of view, like, I don't see why not. I mean, that would be one of those Oscar season worthy movies, I would think. Shot in subdued tones, with real earnestness.
Yeah.
That and brutality. Like, of course that would be that would be Oscar bait. Like.
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to see. I'd like to see.
Different question, actually. That gets to a different question. Is why not? Like.
Yeah.
It's scary. That's a scary question. Why not look at this industry? Like, who and what would be uncovered?
Yeah.
Open secrets.
I'd kill to see a film made about Lichfield, because I think, like, either one of them, either Narvin or Robert, because I think it's the most, like, insane story.
Right. Do it like, what was the,
and whoever played him
what was the cigarette movie with Russell Crowe?
Oh, that one, The Insider. Yeah.
The Insider, right. Like, do it like that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think because that look was like this, looks like Lichfield, like.
Yeah.
That's what came to mind, but also, like, the presentation of, like, someone on the inside being like I don't know. From that point of view.
I think I'd like to shoot it, like, in a way that exposes him as the bad guy, but, like, is focused from his, like, he is the main character of the story.
Right.
So he's the focus. And like, because whoever plays him would win an Oscar for sure. Because they'd have to be incredibly Stevie. And incredibly, like, dark. And they'd have to spin it too. They'd have to make, almost convince the audience that it's okay that I've got this place down in Mexico and there are kids in dog cages every day and 4-point cents in the sun there. It's okay. That kind of shit.
No,
it's okay that we
talk about some of the stuff that I even know.
I know.
Now. Like, that I've been told by people I can't say their name about what he has done and is still doing with young
It's nuts, girls. Man.
Like it's
Yeah. No, I know. No, it's fucking nuts. Like, like, what the fuck? He's like untouchable too, it seems. Like, how is it,
like,
how is it possible?
I don't know. Like, that's so weird to me because he's nothing special.
No.
Like, that's just so weird. But someone is obviously protecting him.
Someone big.
Yeah.
He must have secrets to someone else too, because it's always about blackmail, right?
Well, of course, that's the whole structure of the system.
Right.
Like, do this or else, or
Mm-hmm.
we're gonna, or because we know way too much about you now. So if you don't comply, it's all coming out.
I'd like to rewatch his deposition, actually. I think I'm going to do that at some point today. Quite interesting.
Well, maybe we should write a script.
Yeah, no, totally.
How far do you want to go with this? Like, we know, I think, and we're developing enough contacts in a variety of areas that.
I mean, I don't even want to like show the abuse necessarily or even focus on any of the people in the program. I want it to be solely around him and how he did business and how he operated to move place to place and all this and how he sort of got away with things. But I kind of want it to be like noticeable that there's like a kid screaming in the background, like being abused, but like he's just walking through and but the shot's on him. You know what I mean?
Gotcha.
Like kind of like it's.
Yes. It's
like this guy is like El Guapo kind of guy. You know, he's like a king. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that there are kids being abused. It doesn't matter.
Right. It would be more of it'd be more Hitchcockian in the sense that like what you see on the surface is surrounded by all this implication regarding what's really going on, and you don't necessarily see it, or you just catch glimpses of things.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's exactly how it should be.
Because that's the nature of reality.
Because the reality is he was never a tech staff, he was the big shot. So when he came in, he didn't have to go out to those cages where the kids were. He didn't have to perform punishment. Do you know what I mean?
Right. He had the authority and the resources and the power to command other people to do it for him. Right.
So that doesn't need to be like the focus. The focus should be on this sort of con man who's like constantly talking to parents and reassuring them to keep sending money, even though things.
Right. He's changing his names and.
Yeah, right? And moving states and moving, like, just shifting kids on buses after programs get closed down. You know what I mean? Like,
renaming programs in the same place.
Right.
And
Exactly. Just, like, getting away with it the entire time, just like a fucking cowboy. You know?
It's impressive, actually, like.
It's fucking amazing.
Like, bad guys can be impressive. Like, you don't have to like them. But what a fucking story. Like, are you kidding me that this is actually happening?
It's still going on. It's still going on.
It's still going on.
It's not something that happened. It's like going on.
Right. Exactly. And, well, let's, it's so crazy. Let's try to stop him.
All right.
With whatever little means we
have.
Let's
right?
Stop Marvin,
Sheffield,
Browning, Sheffield,
Lichfield, Browning, Lichfield, someone, Marvin.
Apparently his first name is also Nate, too, so.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Okay. Well, I think that's a great place to close out.
Yeah.
Today, and, this is definitely going into the quote-unquote Survivor series because this is the stuff that, like, some of the survivors. Well, I mean, if I were speaking to them about all this, the interviews would go on for 3 hours, and that's too long. Like, so this is good because we're looking back at like some of the highlights of the people that I've spoken to already.
Yep.
Some of whom you know, and
I do.
And kind of just highlighting, some of their experiences, and then relating it to the power structure that is overseeing all this in Lichfield and other people like that. So,
Hey, Marcus, would you possibly plug the WASP Survivors website? It's just a good hub for anyone like getting
that's
out
what it's called?
and find. I think so, but whenever you put the thing down at the bottom or whatever, just make sure that there's
sure.
a link to that. And
What is it?
I think it's
Survivors.
WWASPS Survivors.com, I believe. WASP.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah. Of course.
Thank you so much.
I'm actually getting better at that. In the description box.
Yeah, you're doing great.
I started putting other links in there, like to Lily's book and
yeah, I saw
the Heal Project or what's it called?
Heal.
Anyway, Heal, right?
Yeah.
And a couple other things. So yes, we'll do that, and this has been it's like a special edition of the V2V
Special
podcast.
edition.
Yeah. Wow.
Okay.
We went from really kind of lighthearted to really fucking serious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
all
usually
right,
our way.
We'll talk to you soon, friend.
All right, brother. Love you, man. Bye.
You too.